Hello. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Church of Doubt. I'm your pastor, PineCreek. How should I set this up? I will set this up by saying that I'm honestly going to try to not be dismissive. But I did make a little video about Reformed Epistemology. Well, not really a video about it, but a video about a person who espouses it and their testimonies on YouTube publicly. And what I did was I basically did the outsider test for faith on it. And so I'm going to play a video of Tyler McNabb talking about his testimony. And I'm going to play video after that of some other cultures, other religious beliefs. And then on the top right, you're going to see some words, some key words that I put from Tyler's testimony. And what I want you to do is, I want you to, when you hear the other testimonies, I want you to follow the list of those key words all the way down. And it's not very long. It's, I think it's about 3 minutes. So I want you to listen carefully to Tyler's testimony, how it kind of all began for him, and then we'll talk about it. But follow those key words, that list all the way down. We'll see if this works. There we go.
It roughly started when I was about 16. I was a senior in high school, and I began to have a lot of doubts about God's existence. And I became really worried that God didn't exist, and what I thought the most plausible explanation of that, if God didn't exist, would be something like that nihilism is true. And so I was pretty much willing to become a moral nihilist if I didn't find evidence that God existed. I ended up coming across passages in the Old Testament, like Isaiah 53, that really sort of encouraged me, or as Plantinga would say, sort of just found myself believing that this is Jesus here. And for the first time in my life, I felt the Holy Spirit. I felt the presence of God just fill me up for the first time. Yeah, like this has to be Jesus. This is Jesus. And just felt really compelled to believe in Jesus. And God used this opportunity as a time to really present himself and more of a sort of an experiential way to me, and believe the gospel. And my life changed radically.
When I was 14 and prayed about the Book of Mormon,
I surprised myself. I realized at such a young age that I was able to put together and realize that there was something more out there.
Then I still had all this worry and concern with it, and so I went and I got Dianetic.
Very strong feeling of missing something and seeking something.
Please help where I will go if this book won't answer to my questions.
And so I'm reading through the Book of Mormon, and boom, you get a aha. The thought that these things are true comes to your mind.
I found an archive called the Mantina Archives, and contained within it was a book called the Book of Haggath, and it felt whole and building, and it testified of Jesus Christ.
Reading about Judaism, the pieces started to fall together where I just felt like I had found my way home.
And I knew in my heart, Allah was telling me in my heart that Islam, this is true, you know.
When I first met them, I knew that what they had to say was true. It wasn't something they said, it was something that I knew inside me. I felt it was like a recognition.
Yes, he is. He is Jesus.
I was 100% sure that God has answered my question.
It gets me a bit now, but I had this, it was a completely different feeling for me, and it's changed my life since that day, and I've never looked back since.
sorry I cut off the screen so you couldn't see all the words there. But I think you guys get the point. And I'm trying really hard, I really am, to not be dismissive of this type of testimony. I have a 14-year-old daughter, and I asked her, I showed this video to her. No, my daughter's not a believer. But she's young enough that she hasn't been kicked around by life as much as us older folk have. And so I played this video for my daughter, and I asked her what she thought of it. And she started talking about the Holy Book idea. And without any prompting from me, she basically said, well, I think if someone really wants to believe, they'll read the Holy Book and see what they want to see. And but if this is her words, she said something like, if someone doesn't, have that strong desire to believe it, they're not going to read the Old Testament passages and see what this guy Tyler McNabb saw. And I thought, wow. I told her that she should come on my show, but she's too shy. So my questions would be for Tyler, if he ever watches this, is why did you pick up the Bible and read Isaiah 53? Why that holy book and not another one? And my guess is that a lot of these other holy books that you saw in this video that I just played probably weren't even in his house at the time. And another question I would ask is now Tyler's a PhD in philosophy, so I'm sure he wouldn't mind hypotheticals. If you had this worry and doubt and angst in your life, but you happen to be born and raised in a culture of Islam, do you think you would have picked up the Quran instead of the Bible? And do you think you may have gotten that same feeling, that presence of God? And I think that's a reasonable question. And I think there are people in this world who have, well, I just played a video, people who have had that same experience. So if these negative feelings, these doubts you had in your life caused you, and because of the culture you were raised in, caused you to pick up this Bible and read it, is it true that there was something in you that desired for it to be true? And thus you saw this as true and you felt this as true? How did you eliminate the possibility that there was another cause of what you felt? Like you said, you felt the presence of God in you, and that Isaiah 53 has to be, these are your words, has to be talking about Jesus. How did you figure out that it has to be Jesus? Like, for example, did you inquire of Orthodox Jews about Isaiah 53 before you came to that conclusion? Did you talk to any secular historians about Isaiah 53 before you came to that conclusion? Question for you, Tyler. Would you leave Christianity today well, maybe not today, but would you leave Christianity if you became convinced Isaiah 53 was not talking about Jesus? Tyler, would you leave Christianity if you became convinced someday that the authors of the New Testament used Isaiah 53 to create their narrative? And if your answer is no, I got to really wonder what's going on here. If when you were 15, you picked up the Bible and started reading this and you came to that conclusion. And I think in Reformed Epistemology, they call these defeaters. So I would welcome Tyler to come on my show, and we'll talk about defeaters. What would defeat your belief in Jesus? I think a lot of Christians who watch this, I think actually agree with me that to use Reformed epistemology does not look good. It's a lot of Christians would rather say, Tyler, why don't you just focus on the evidence? The evidence is huge. We don't need to go to feelings that or intuitions. The evidence is overwhelming. It's extraordinary, Tyler. So let's stick to that. I think a lot of Christians would think that. But in my opinion, I think a lot of Christians haven't even begun to look at the evidence. So again, I don't want to be dismissive of intuition, because we all have intuitions. I admit that, and I'm sure if Reformed epistemologists was to come on here, they would pound me hard on, Doug, are you justified in saying I have a mind, or you know other minds, and they go down this path, and I get that. But the question is, how do we determine when we're wrong? How do we figure out when these defeaters should allow us to say, maybe I'm not justified in believing this? I think psychology can explain why, and biology, evolution, can explain why you see that pattern of so many people being raised in a culture, having doubts about the core beliefs, doing something, having an experience or doing research or whatever, and then coming to the conclusion that the core belief system that they were raised in happened to be true. This happens over and over and over again. That should cause doubt in the believer, I think. And that doubt should be embraced. It should be hugged. Shouldn't be shunned. I'm going to keep this video short, but I want to let you know that there's a chance that I might go in more depth with this with my buddy Cam, and talk about Reformed epistemology more, and maybe do a critique of a debate or something like that. So thanks for watching this, and we'll see you next time.